In a remote village tucked between misty hills and ancient trees, death was not rare. But this one was different. Madame Trang had passed at the age of 92, the oldest soul in the valley. She was feared more than loved, respected more than mourned. They said she could see things from the other side. When she died, her family followed her final request, to be buried with her most prized possession, a ring. It was not just gold, it was old gold, with a ruby the color of drying blood. It had belonged to her grandmother and her grandmother before that. Generations of whispered curses followed it, but no one dared speak aloud. Until Min came. Min was a traveler, a thief, though he called himself a collector. He heard about the ring during the funeral, which he watched from afar, like a strayed dog outside a feast. He didn't care for stories or spirits. That night, he crept into the cemetery with a flashlight, gloves, and a small crowbar. The grave was still fresh. He dug like a madman, driven not by greed but something else, an urge, a compulsion. The deeper he dug, the colder the soil felt. Then he reached the coffin. It groaned as he pried it open. There she lay, skin pale as wax, hands folded on her chest, the ring gleaming under the moonlight. He reached for it, but it wouldn't budge. He pulled harder, and as it slipped off, he thought, no, he felt her hand twitch. Her lips parted, and she whispered, "Mine." Min laughed nervously and stumbled away, not even bothering to fill the grave again. He slept that night in a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. The ring sat on his nightstand, glowing faintly in the dark. Then came the first dream. He was standing in a room with no windows, just endless white walls and the sound of dripping. A shadow stood across from him, tall, still, silent. He tried to speak, but his mouth was sewn shut. The figure took a step forward, a woman, hair stringy and wet, skin sagging as if soaked for days. She wore a white burial gown soaked in red around the wrists. She pointed to his hand, the one wearing the ring. "Give it back." He woke up screaming, soaked in sweat, gasping for breath. But worse, when he looked at the ring, the ruby was wet. The next few days blurred. The dreams returned every night, more vivid, more violent. Sometimes she whispered from the shadows. Sometimes she screamed in his ear. He tried to pawn the ring, but no shop would take it. One elderly man took one look, slapped it off the counter, and shouted, This is blood forged. Where did you get it?" Min didn't answer. He began to see her in daylight, reflections in windows, faces in crowds, behind bathroom mirrors. She never chased him, never lunged. She only looked and smiled. His health declined, eyes sunken, hands trembling. The ring began to feel tight, like it was sinking into his skin. He tried to take it off. It wouldn't move. It had fused to him, around the wrists. She pointed to his hand, the one wearing the ring. "Give it back." He woke up screaming, soaked in sweat, gasping for breath. But worse, when he looked at the ring, the ruby was wet. One night, Min visited a fortune teller in desperation. An old woman with clouded eyes and 100 incense sticks burning around her. She took one look at his hand and recoiled. "That ring belongs to the dead. Return it or suffer her fate." "How?" he begged. "How do I give it back?" She didn't answer. She simply turned her head and began to chant. The flames from the incense turned blue. Exactly 7 nights after the theft, Min tried to leave town. He packed his things, got into his old motorcycle, and sped into the foggy countryside. He didn't make it far. A truck swerved on the road. It wasn't fast. It wasn't raining, but Min swore she stepped in front of him. He veered. The bike flipped, screams, metal, blood. When he woke up, everything was a blur. Sterile lights, screams echoing down hospital halls. A doctor shouting, "We're losing him." Then pain, then nothing. He came to in the emergency room, sedated and bandaged. His right arm was elevated. He looked. His hand was gone, crushed. The hand with the ring, gone forever. He started to cry, but not in grief, in terror, because standing in the corner of the room was a woman in a white gown. No nurses saw her. No one else noticed. But Min did. She smiled. And for the first time she spoke in a voice that wasn't a whisper. "You took from me, so I took from you." Min survived, but barely. His right arm was amputated above the wrist. He couldn't speak for days. Nurses reported him mumbling in his sleep, "She's here. She's always here." Smiling. One nurse, brave or foolish, asked him, "Who's here?" He turned his pale, wide eyes to her and whispered, "She's under the bed." The nurse looked. Nothing. But that night she too began to dream. A room with no windows. A woman in white. Whispers of, "Give it back." Weeks later, the grave of Madame Trang was mysteriously reopened. The coffin sealed shut. But inside her hand was different. The ring was back. But now the ruby was darker, deeper, as if it had tasted blood and liked it.